Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the channel. It's your boy, World of Wrestling, here today to discuss about AEW Dynamite, February 5th, 2025 review. This show had some good promos, I'd say. I'd say the show kickstarted with a nice bang with the Death Riders, Jay White. Edge returned. He challenged Jon Moxley for the title at Revolution. No answer or word on that yet. Another challenge was dished out by Jay White that him and Adam Copeland would team together against Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli, I believe, in a tag team match at the No Holds Barred, by the way, Street Fight tag team match at the Grand Slam Australia event. So, I mean, yeah, there's not a whole lot of build going on in Revolution. Seems like the focal point is all about Grand Slam in Australia, which hardly anyone's going to be able to watch unless you're willing to stay up extremely late to watch the event. I don't know why you would do that when you can easily catch it if you're DVRing it on your cable service, or if you have HBO Max, you can easily watch it on there. You can watch it immediately after it goes off the air at a normal time. Just don't look at the spoilers, and you're good. I thought this show was fair, I guess, but the main event between Swerve Strickland and Ricochet, that was a good match. That was a good main event. I enjoyed that match. That was fun and enjoyable shit. Ricochet walked away with the W there. I thought that was pretty sweet. His character, whatever. I mean, you can love it, hate it, basically. I don't particularly care for it all that much, but I do like the match. The match they produced together was excellent. Overall, the show was fair. I'd say it was slightly above the other episodes we've seen in the last couple of weeks or last month or so. But then again, the bar wasn't exactly set very high. But yeah, I'm going to give it a C. I give it a C grading. I think it was fair. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, amazing. Raw has been the best show, storyline-wise, all around. I've enjoyed the content. I have been seeing that there's been YouTube videos posted online of people saying that their viewership on Netflix has gone down tremendously compared to the debut show. I don't know if it's because people can just stream it anytime they want, so they're like, I don't care to sit there and watch it live. I'd rather just watch it in my own free time. And if that's the case, I mean, then you can't really look at it and go, well, it's a failure. But, I mean, someone else could say who's a AEW supportive could say, well, why can't that be the same thing with AEW? I mean, I agree with that in a sense. I mean, but the loss of viewership, my God, has been terrible. I don't know how you can defend AEW's viewership going in before they were streaming live on HBO Max, because they didn't have that platform in 2024, and their viewership was well below their normal average, and they just been losing viewers. The arenas are not the same size as they once were. They were wrestling in front of crowds the same as WWE, and now they're wrestling in crowds that are like in between what WWE and what TNA would wrestle in front of. I mean, they are pretty much like not where they once were. I can just tell you that much. I mean, 2 years ago in 2023, even with all the drama that was going on with CM Punk, they were in still better shape than what they are now. I just am not impressed with AEW as of late. I'm sorry. For anyone that's a supportive fan of AEW, I mean, that's fine. I don't hate you for it, but you got to be real with yourself. And I do love AEW. I wouldn't sit here and watch this every single week hoping that maybe something positive would turn up. I mean, tonight there was some positive things that occurred, but there was some really off the wall shit. Like, what are we doing with MJF? MJF's all over the place. We're hinting MJF's going to wrestle Hangman Page with the last two episodes of Hangman Page and him kind of interacting with each other in some capacity. We got him going ahead and doing, shit with Jeff Jarrett, Dusty Rhodes now. I mean, what the fuck are we doing with MJF? MJF is pretty much in the middle of bullshit, facing all-timers. He even mentioned it today on this episode saying, well, this is not... AEW stands for All Elite Wrestling, not All Elderly Wrestling. Something JD and Jesse on their AEW review nights have talked about on JD's channel, JD from New York 206. And I mean, like, what are we doing with MJF? MJF's one of the biggest names in the company, has the best promo work, can do the best work in the ring, outside the ring, tell a story, give us something to be intrigued by. And yet we are getting nothing out of this. We had Will Ospreay kickstarting the show once again as the opening match. It wasn't like the opening segment, but it was the very first match. Will Ospreay's got to be the guy. He can't be at the 9 o'clock hour. He's got to be the first match on the card for us to kickstart the show against Mike Davis. He, of course, beats Mike Davis, or Marcus Davis, whatever his fucking name was. Teammate of Kyle Fletcher, and, well, former teammate. Now he's got something held over his head. And Kenny Omega tells Davis that, whatever's holding over, Don Callis is holding over his head, we got your back and everything else, and you can depend on us, and we'll have your back and be supportive of you. I don't quite understand where that comes in all of a sudden. They kind of just threw that in there. I guess they're trying to sell intrigue and get people interested. I mean, that's about the only thing I can come up with. At this point, AEW is just desperate to get anything on this show to make people interested. At just randomly throwing things in there to elevate stories in some capacity. Whatever way they think works, they're just going to throw it and hope it sticks with the fans. But in all honesty, there's really... nothing with Don Callis' family versus Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega is going to lead to anything important or exciting. This tag team match that we're going to get, I think is going to be a lot of fun to watch with Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay against the two teammates of Don Callis' family. But realistically, is there anything major going to come out of the story? Anyone going to get elevated? No. I don't think so. Unless we go with Kyle Fletcher getting a W over Kenny Omega or some shit. I mean, that's about the only thing I can think of. Let's see here. What else do we have on the show? We had, we had the Hounds of Hell competing in tag team action. I believe that was also against Don Callis' family. I don't actually have my phone out here to look, but give me 1 second and I will let you guys know in just a moment. guys, and let me pull this bitch up. I just personally, guys, I am truly getting to the point with AEW that I am considering to start watching TNA and see how things are going with them and see if it's anything of interest to me, and then start reviewing it here on the channel later on in the future. I don't want to automatically just come out and say, yeah, I'm going to review it every single week now or whatever, until I actually get a chance to see what TNA is like on a week-to-week basis. See if it's worth the time and energy to go through. But personally, it can't be worse than this. I mean, there's really nothing going on with AEW. AEW is a fucking dead product. Am I going to continue to do reviews on it? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure. But let's go over the... Oh, it's Mark Davis. Excuse me. Not Mike Davis or anything like that. Or Marcus. It's Mark Davis. Alright, so let's go through everything here. Alright, so after the Mark Davis Will Ospreay match and the promo done by Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay, we have the Hurt Syndicate make their way down to the ring, and the crowd are chanting along with the theme song. MVP says hello before introducing Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, the new AEW Tag Team Champions. The crowd cheer before chanting "We Hurt People," but are stopped by MVP, who says he wants to make this quick. MVP gives props to Private Party, but says they were in the wrong place at the wrong time going up against the Hurt Syndicate. He calls out the rest of the locker room, saying if you are a champion, to look out as they look to hurt you and take your title. Pretty simplistic story there, straight to the point. But there's the average age on this roster has gone up quite a bit. I mean, Bobby Lashley and fucking Shelton Benjamin. I mean, Bobby Lashley's in his mid-40s. Shelton Benjamin's got to be in his early 50s. And you got Dusty Rhodes coming out there, like I mentioned earlier. You got Jeff Jarrett wrestling on there. You got fucking Edge on there. Adam Copeland, whatever you want to call him. I mean, you got a lot of guys that are high in age that could be retired at this point based on their age and shelf life. So I don't know what anyone's thinking, but this shit is just... They need to get a younger roster. They need to build younger stars, and they ain't got any of that going on. It's all old, worn-down stars that have been there for such a long time in the wrestling business that it gets to the point where you start wondering, are we ever going to build any new stars? We ain't getting any of that right now. Even the top stars of AEW that are young and vibrant and still have many years left on their wheels, they ain't being utilized as top-notch talent on their show. They're being utilized as mid-card to main event grudge matches and what have you. I mean, I don't understand where this company's going, but their original people that they had build this company are no longer either not there or not being utilized on the show. I don't quite understand the fucking logic behind all this shit. This is fucking crazy. And not to mention building new stars. How is Private Party built up properly by making them beat the Young Bucks and then losing the titles to a non-tag team? They are not legitimately a tag team, Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley. They are singles competitors. They just so happen to be in a faction together, so they put them together for tag team titles and had them win. Hands down. No story, no nothing, just, we're taking your titles, that's it, and it's exactly what they did. I don't understand this company. This company is absolutely fucking ridiculous. If I didn't know any better, I'd think Vincent Mann's running this shit while Tony Khan's pretending he's a businessman. I really don't understand the fucking concept behind this company. But they're out of their fucking gourd. So he continues on. He says, in the meantime, business is open. If anyone wants to step up and face the champions, we get cut off by... Okay. So then MVP's promo gets cut off by the Bang Bang Gang, specifically the Guns, who get a nice pop, and the former tag team champs start to call out the Syndicate before MVP tells them to step inside the ring to state their business. The Guns enter the ring, introducing themselves before stating they're ready to take back their tag team titles. Really? They haven't done a fucking thing. What is all of a sudden they get an automatic title opportunity? This company, they went from, I'll tell you what, back when this company first started, all they fucking ever did was tag team wrestling matches, left and right. You never, hardly ever got singles competition. Now you get nothing but singles competition and hardly any tag team wrestling. Where's a happy medium with this fucking company? They go all out for tag team wrestling, and now they don't even care about tag team wrestling, as if it's not even a thing. They don't have a tag team division. They have nothing. They just have a champion, and then a new challenger just shows up out of the fucking woodwork and says, I want your titles. And they're granted a title shot. What kind of fucking nonsense is this? It really is. It's absolute nonsensical bullshit. So MVP says he respects their bravery, and more importantly, he respects their father, because otherwise these two would already be choking out the Guns. But he's a businessman, so next week it'll be the Hurt Syndicate against a couple of ass boys. So they're instantaneously getting tag team title opportunity next week on Dynamite. Why? They haven't done a fucking thing on the show. Now, some people would come on here and say, well, there's not really a whole lot of tag team wrestling going on. Why should it matter? Why can't they just get the tag team title opportunity now? Why can't we build towards Revolution, which is right around the corner in a few weeks? They're a week after. Revolution is a week after Elimination Chamber, and the Elimination Chamber is already being built up on the first week of its builds. Going into this fucking pay-per-view, which is on March 1st, this is on March 8th, Revolution, and they haven't done shit. They've had 3 whole fucking months to do something and actually build stories going into this pay-per-view, and they haven't done nothing except for a little bit of a world championship match hint, and that's about it. No rivalry. I mean, you got a little teasers here and there of MJF and Hangman Page, which has been thrown out there a couple of times in the last, I would say, maybe the last 2 weeks. This last week and this week. That's it. Nothing is going on here. The whole focal point of build on these shows right now is going into Grand Slam Australia. Why is Grand Slam Australia and Revolution practically almost back to back? They're 2 weeks apart. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, get real with yourselves. You're doing way too much. If you got Grand Slam Australia, get rid of fucking Revolution. Or better yet, postpone Revolution for late March. That way you have more time to build. Because currently right now, all the story we got going on here is just about Grand Slam Australia. And the funny thing is, hardly anyone's going to stay up to watch this shit. There's nothing remotely exciting. There's good matches being booked and so forth. And that's about the only reason why you would want to tune in. But you have ability to watch it later. So why sit there and watch it live in the middle of the night when you could be napping or, going ahead and doing something fun late at night, like going to a club with your girl, whatever, you know? Imagine you have a girlfriend, you go ahead, she likes to go out and party, and she wants to go do something with you, and you tell her on a Saturday night, you're gonna go, eh, you know, I'm just gonna chill at home and watch AEW Grand Slam Australia at 12 o'clock in the fucking morning. Or whatever time it's taking place. Could you imagine you told your girl that? She'd look at you and go, what? Or better yet, she wants to have sex with you, and you look at her and you go, nah, I'm going to watch AEW. She'd be like, what the fuck? You'd rather watch a bunch of idiots doing gymnastics than making love to me. Woohoo! Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, man. Shit. There's so many different things you could be doing on a Saturday night at that time of hour. Sleeping, making love to your girl or wife, fucking going out and doing something fun, going to the bar, having a couple of drinks, drinking at home, chilling, watching a good movie, going to the movies. I mean, shit, there are so many fucking things you could be doing. And it won't be like 3 whole hours, which I think this event will take, is about a pay-per-view quality time slot. Maybe 2 hours, a regular televised show. But whatever. The point is, why the fuck would you spend all that time when you can sit there and watch it at a normal hour during the afternoon on a Sunday before the Super Bowl? Well, Super Bowl's before this. But you got nothing to do on Sunday. There's no football if you're interested in football. I mean, you got nothing you have to do, and you could sit there and chill and watch some good old fashioned wrestling in the middle of a Sunday afternoon and skip through commercials. You don't have to worry about looking at commercials. I mean, I'd rather do that than stay up that fucking late. I just wouldn't look up the results of the show. It's that simple. So, the Hurt Syndicate leave the ring, but the Guns restate just who they are as they look to gain back the titles they lost about 2 years ago. Yeah, and they haven't done nothing since then. And they weren't long title reign holders either. And if you're not down with that, we've got 2 words for you. Guns up. Great. We head backstage where Renee looks to talk to the TBS champion, but Mercedes Moné we hear from is actually Harley Cameron's puppet. Yes, she is trying to act like she's at a talent show. The two have a conversation, quote unquote, about how Monet treated Cameron last week, as we see the champ herself stepping out from her dressing room. Renee talks to Mercedes about Cameron picking up her first win in AEW, as the champ is still without a challenger for Grand Slam Australia, but Monet simply uses that as a chance to run Harley down some more before leaving. I don't know what this Harley Cameron chick is being hyped up for. She won one fucking match. One match. And she's already being hinted to challenging for a TBS Women's Championship. Like, anyone expects her to win. Like, is she going to win? I highly doubt it. They're not going to go ahead and do all this shit they've done with this bitch. Win all these fucking win 4 women's championships from different promotions, and then have her drop it to some random person who just won their very first match, who's also lost to millions of people. I highly doubt that's going to be the case. Anyway, we are back once more as Renee talks to Hangman Page about the Texas Death Match and Christopher Daniels having to retire. Page addresses the situation until Max Caster interrupts, needling Page over, taking out Daniels, and seeing if he'd be willing to do the same to Bowens or Billy Gunn, but Page offers to put him in the hospital instead, forcing the best rapper alive to make his exit as we cut away. Back at ringside, we get the Hounds of Hell coming out to compete against Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita. This was a good match. I wouldn't say it was terrible, but Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita end up winning the match anyway. Match ends and Don Callis' family are celebrating. We cut to look back at the at Collision as Samoa Joe beats up Kip Sabian, only to deal with a beatdown from the Patriarchy before Hook intervenes. So we got backstage. Joe is on a hunt for the Patriarchy himself as he and Hook beat down Sabian and Nick Wayne while a hiding Christian K peeks his head out to witness what's going on in the locker room. And he goes, yeah, I don't think I'm going to intervene with this. And he kind of just goes away. After the beatdown, Joe tells them to tell your daddy I said hi before walking off, and Cage seems at least a little concerned as he checks on them before shoving the camera away. Next, we are backstage, or back at ringside with MJF heading down to the ring. MJF talks about how he had to teach Jarrett a lesson, which is that the E in AEW stands for elite, not elderly. Now that Carney Schmuck is out of MJF's way, he can focus on getting back his Triple B, because ain't nobody on the level of the... And then he's interrupted by Max Caster rushing in the ring, looking to hide from Hangman Page. Page music hits as Hangman Page stares down MJF, only to turn his attention back to chasing Caster through the crowd. Very awkward segment here, especially for an MJF segment. I particularly did not care for this at all. It was too fucked up and ridiculous. So the crowd tells MJF to shut the fuck up as MJF tries to hit his catchphrase again after running Page down. But this time it's Dustin Rhodes interrupting as he heads to the ring. Rhodes tells MJF to shut his stupid trap, running the former world champion for his remarks for the past few weeks. He tells Friedman to keep Owen Hart's name out of his mouth, or Dustin will kick his teeth in. He tells MJF to stop talking about people's wives and running people down for their past drug issues, as it's something Dustin have been through. He is 16 years sober and has been through hell, but says MJF is not the devil. Dustin says he is the last of his kind, and repeatedly says this throughout the entire show in his promos. I guess he's hinting that he's retiring soon, if he keeps saying that, I would imagine. And when he's gone, the mold will be broken forever. Oh boy. Another elderly, over-the-hill guy who shouldn't have to wrestle anymore, should be able to retire and enjoy his old age, is still wrestling with a bunch of young kids. Give him this. He does have good matches, but he is old as shit and he ain't going nowhere with this company. Dustin turns away as MJF responds by giving Rhodes a round of applause before running Rhodes down. He mocks Dustin by saying it took him 37 long years just to get from under his dad's shadow. This seems to strike a nerve with Dustin as MJF continues saying, after all that hard work and sacrifice, now Dustin lives in the shadow of his little baby brother. And this sets Dustin off as he blindsides MJF and strikes him. I thought this was good with the interaction between these two. And it's not a shadow that Dustin's under with his brother. It's a fucking cloud. His brother is having the most success out of everybody between Dusty and Dustin. Cody is on fire. He's had the most successful career. He's won the most championships. He's had the most memorable matches. I mean, don't get me wrong, Dusty Rhodes has had memorable matches. Not in WWE, though, which is the biggest fucking stage of them all in pro wrestling. But Dusty Rhodes had major matches in WCW. WCW was where he shined the most, or NWA / WCW at the time. He was good then, at that point, rivaling with Ric Flair and a few other big names back in those days that I have to go back and check out if I want to even know about the history. But he's been in main eventing Starcades and shit like that in WCW, NWA, back in the 80s and early 90s and what have you. Well, maybe not, but from the late 70s up to the mid 80s, he was the star. He was a main eventer with Ric Flair. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, Cody has been the biggest star out of the bunch in the Rhodes family, in my personal opinion. Others might disagree with me. They may say it's Dusty, but the way things have been going the last 2 years or so, since 2023, since that loss to Roman Reigns, it has been a fucking bright star for Cody Rhodes, most definitely. And the work he did in AEW was fantastic. The only reason why AEW is a success is because of his creativity. He was actually involved in that. DDP actually confirmed that as well in one of his interviews, saying that now that they lost him, AEW is in deep shit because he actually was helping out a lot in creativity. And they ain't got that creativity anymore. That's pretty much died out. Anyway, back at ringside, Mariah May heads the commentary to our next match as Queen Amanita makes her way to the ring. So we got Toni Storm and Amanita competing in a one-on-one match that went on way too long in my personal opinion. This match, I think, went about almost 10 minutes. And to me, she's more of an enhancement talent, somebody you would see on Ring of Honor or Collision for like 2 to 5 minutes doing something. And here she's getting like a full-fledged match with Toni Storm, who's now having a world title match and should be able to squash this bitch and doesn't do that. They have her go in a competitive match, and in certain points of the match, Anamata actually looks like she is going to win the match, or at least looks like she's competing in this match. The match, to me, was fair, but nothing special. Toni Storm, of course, wins the match. I would hope she would. But still, made her look bad going into this matchup with Mariah May. I figured she would just squash her with the name that she was competing up against, but that was not the case. So Renee goes to interview Storm after the match is over, as Toni insists we call her Mariah May. So we're mocking each other and shit like that. This is ridiculous. She mocks the champion as she calls herself the woman from hell. Stepping on the neck of the women's division, this angers the real Mariah May enough to step onto the apron, but chance of which one's which only makes her more mad as she leaves up the ramp. Jesus Christ. Alright, whatever. Anywho. Backstage, we hear once more from Dustin Rhodes that he promises to beat up MJF next Tuesday. Oh, it's on Tuesday night. Oh, how nice. So I won't have to sit through this bullshit. Anyway, so yeah, the Tuesday night, he's going to have a match with MJF. Bandino returned to AEW at Collision, and we get a New York Minute of Chris Jericho in front of the crowd instead of in a recorded segment. And let me tell you something. Through this entire thing, they had the fucking graphic of a New York Minute taking place while Big Bill and Powerhouse Hobbs are beating the shit out of security guards and having a stare down with each other. I'm sitting there saying to myself, why is the graphic still up? The moment we saw Will Hobbs enter into this segment, that should have just disappeared. Instead, the whole entire time this segment's going on, while this interaction between these two behemoths are taking place, they still have the graphic sitting up for a New York Minute. Somebody in production really fucked up here. I mean, granted, some people might say, well, you're kind of being a little too harsh and critiquing something very small, but it looks so fucking ridiculous. You have a graphic of the New York Minute while these two are actually going to beat the living snot out of each other. I don't get it. And why are we getting these two on Collision? Isn't Will Hobbs supposed to be being a pushed character, a pushed performer? Aren't we trying to build new stars? Hell, even Big Bill should be utilized and elevated in this fucking roster. He is not that fucking old. He's probably, I think, 36, 37 years old. He still has another 5 to 10 years worth of time left, depending on how well he keeps his body in, how well his body holds up and everything. I mean, he doesn't look like he's over the hill or he can't move in the fucking ring. I think he was better on fucking TNA, honestly. I don't know what the hell he's doing on AEW. They're not doing nothing with him. He was a bigger entity in TNA than he is on AEW. That is fucking sad in itself. He was doing so much stuff on there. He was having storylines, important matches. Looked like he was going to be pushed for a world title opportunity on TNA at one point before he moved to AEW. What the fuck are we doing here with this guy? And the name, whoa, who the fuck came up with this Big Bill name? The moment he came into AEW, they fucked him up. Changed his fucking name. I forgot his damn name in TNA. He went under a better name than this shit. Big Bill. Yeah, Big Bill. Real main event name right there. Get the fuck out of here. I'm not even going over the fucking New York Minute bullshit. Who the fuck cares? Chris Jericho's a deadbeat and worthless at this point. Nobody fucking cares to even see him on TV at this point in time. So, back from a commercial break, we get a peek backstage as the brawl from earlier is still being broken up before heading into the main event. Swerve Strickland makes his entrance, only to be blindsided with a chair shot by Ricochet. He lays some more onto the former world champion, sending him to the ring as the ref checks on Strickland. He insists he's good to go, and the match is underway. As I already mentioned, very good matchup between these two. It actually went over the 10 o'clock hour, and it was a good match. That was probably the best match on the show, honestly. There was nothing else on this show that was even worth anybody's fucking time. But other than that, this match, some stories that were told here, this show sucked. It was middle of the road type of show, but if your standards are high and you're looking for something that is worth your time for 2 hours, this is something you go back and you just watch and skip through things that you're not interested in watching and watch the things that you are interested in watching. And that's basically it. I'd say about half of the show is pretty good and the other half you could have skipped. Was really not all that big of a fucking deal. But that's pretty much what my feelings were. Like I said, it's a C show. I would grade it. It was okay, but it wasn't great. But that's all I have to say at this time, guys. I'm tired of talking about AEW. They are a fucking boring ass show. They leave no fucking quality of television for us to, clamor about or be positive about. This is just absolutely fucking terrible. This is not something I've been used to with AEW in the past, and this is just trash. Plain and simple. But anyway, guys, you know what to do. Hit the like button if you like the video. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the channel. And leave a comment down below. I'll definitely get back to you on that. Thank you guys very much for watching. And have a great night, guys. Bye.